Welcome to the Digital Fluid Marketing Podcast, our very first quarantine edition. So obviously we can't go into the studio anymore until things clear up. So this is going to be the first of the series of at-home fluid marketing podcasts. And today we're talking with Troy Meekhof. And we're going to be talking about live streaming. So if you want to learn how to set up or what to expect when live streaming, we're just going to have a discussion all around that. So Troy, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me on. Really excited to be here. My name is Troy Meekhof. I am a video producer, and I do everything from weddings to corporate video to some real estate and all of the above. I live, breathe, and just adore video production, and that's all I do basically. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you and I both. Troy is an awesome, excellent person to have filming. Anytime I have the luxury of affording a second shooter, Troy is my go-to guy. Just excellent work. Now, you've been helping. You've been helping DanceSpire with their live streams.
Yes.
Kind of give us a little bit of background on how that developed.
Yeah, so I don't know what your listeners know about DanceSpire, but they are this wonderful group of dancers, and every single Wednesday night they host this what they call a Drop-In Wednesday, where anybody can come in and dance with them and get like a dance class, basically. They started this back in 2017, and they have not missed a single Wednesday since then with their Wednesday night classes. So even through the polar vortex and all of that jazz, like they have never missed a single Wednesday, and they were not about to let this quarantine, the statewide shutdown here, get in their way. So
yeah, don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to mention that during that polar vortex, I had to come out and film that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Anyways,
gosh.
continue.
Yeah, so we've both been through this now, yeah. So they decided to go online with their stream, or with their class actually, through a live stream on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. And so they came to me for the live streaming setup with the cameras and the computers and all of that stuff. And so ever since the statewide shutdown went into place, I've been doing their live streams to continue that, the 4-year tradition, the weekly tradition, to keep on going, but virtual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been noticing a lot of educational programs and such like that have been utilizing live streaming to continue their education services. I heard of a dojo doing that as well. So instead of having the karate sessions in person, they also moved to online streaming.
Yeah, that's super cool.
The other concern, something I read with like Facebook and other platforms, they weren't built for, their servers aren't built for the surge of live streams. So that's been like a concern I've been hearing, is the fact that there's just so much live streaming that they weren't prepared for, because everyone's now doing it.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, they've got the resources. We have not personally run into any issues yet. I mean, like we've been struggling a lot with like the local internet connection, like the connection at the host's apartment or at this dance studio. That's been really tough, and I mean, maybe that could just be Facebook now that I think about it. That like unreliable streams and streams shutting down and all of the trouble that goes into that, because we've had our fair share of issues, don't get me wrong. We've always blamed it on our local Wi-Fi connection, but I mean, it could be Facebook. Could be YouTube, I don't know, but that makes total sense.
Have you considered getting your own separate Wi-Fi transmitter, like something separate? That way, if you go to any other location, you don't have to rely on their internet, that you bring your own capabilities.
Yeah, for sure. We've totally considered it. They are a little pricey though, but a lot of the commercially available ones that are reasonably priced are based off of like LTE networks, which, I mean, your smartphone could probably tell you that it's not the most reliable network, especially in random places and deep in dance studios and all of that stuff. They work, but they're not always the most reliable. And so far, it seems like our home Wi-Fi is the most reliable solution. We've also looked into other ones, but it seems that local connections are the most, one, cost-effective, and two, the most reliable.
Yeah. Do you watch Who's Matt Johnson?
Yes, a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, so he posted recently and for those who don't know, he's a wedding filmmaker, tutorial educator, and he recently posted about live streaming weddings. In fact, because most people probably have to start doing that if they have a nearby wedding, if they don't want to postpone it. But that's a topic he talked about, is bringing up. He says when you have 200 plus people coming into any venue, you just never trust a church's or a venue's Wi-Fi. So he recommended to bring your own capabilities to stream that. So I'm not sure what recommendations he had for that, but maybe there is an affordable option for wedding filmmakers that would translate to what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to find a more like affordable and reliable solution. That internet connection is key, man. It's so key.
If anybody out there knows of a good internet transmitting device, let me know about it. Send me an email at hello@paulmatthewmedia.com, and that's 2 T's in Matthew. All right, so dancing. Have you done any other live streaming, or is it just the dance right now?
It's just dancing so far. I have had a couple inquiries for wedding live streams, but also right now, if you have a wedding within this like shutdown period, it's every wedding right now has just been canceled completely. They don't want any gatherings, even of families. I mean, the federal guidelines are like 10 people or something like that. So it's really, the market's been a little tough to break into, but so far so good for my end.
Yeah, I just booked a new wedding. I mean, granted, it's later in the year, but I just booked one, and the earliest wedding I have is May 23rd. So it's still in the low risk zone at this point in time. I did send them an email saying that I'm watching this, and I'll figure out something if we have to, if regulations and quarantine continue at that point.
For sure.
How long do you think, because right now the guidelines till April 30th, do you think realistically that we're going to be free, like weddings and other services, after April 30th? Do you think that's going to get extended?
I think, I mean, I don't know if I'm qualified to give an actual answer, but I'll do my best.
Disclaimer, this is opinions and don't take any of this speculation.
Yeah, I'm a video guy, not a medical professional, but I do think after the 30th of April, we'll start to see a slow reopening of society, basically. So then the month of May will probably be slow at first, but then by the time June rolls around, and once we get to the middle of June, I really think everything will be back open again. That is granted that we're not seeing another surge of outbreaks or anything like that. So that's just my personal thought. That's what I think. I don't know anything.
Yeah. How has it impacted your business, if you don't mind my asking?
Sure.
Has that been a struggle, or have you been kind of working through it? Like, how is a creative who generally has to be physically present for half the job, how does that feel?
Yeah, so I've had a number of shoots. I think just about every shoot that I've had in the last 2 weeks and for the next 4 weeks just canceled completely or postponed. That's been really tough, just because, I mean, that's my work, that's my income. I got to pay my bills somehow, but
yeah,
I've been also trying to diversify as much as I can into other things like web development and, I mean, live streaming now too. I didn't offer live streaming as like a specific service that I do until a couple of weeks ago. So it's shaking things up, but I am staying busy with editing projects and catching up on old inquiries and all that stuff. It is a time for me to kind of step back and look at business as a whole and kind of change, either refine my direction, change my direction, or just double down on what I'm doing and weather the storm out. That's all I can do at this point.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I've had a backlog, well, not really a backlog, but I still have projects that I'm working on. Interestingly enough, I had the 2 weeks that led up to this, where everything went from 0 to 100, basically.
Yep.
I was supposed to be in Indonesia. And so for these 2 weeks, I've had nothing lined up. I had everything pre-scheduled, which is why when this goes out last week, which is this week currently, there was content in studio that I'm still posting. And that is because I had prepared for that 2 weeks to be completely ghosting society.
Yep.
And ended up spending it at home. So I've been able to work on some stuff. But now it's like finally, next week will be when I was supposed to really be back into the grinds, and now I'm gonna really experience what the world is like in terms of workload, because I had already prepared for 2-week vacation basically.
Which is a good timing on your part.
I had a 2-week hiatus, and now I'm back at it. I'm editing a wedding film, kind of taking my time with that, because that's probably going to be the only project I'll have, big project that I'll have for a while. I've been part of the workflow with what you're doing with Dancepire. I've been doing the next stage of it. So once it's live streamed by you, I get the full thing, and I cut it down, add motion graphics, and put it into a format where it can live long term.
Yep.
So, so that's one thing I've got going on, and then it's just, like you said, kind of refocusing in on those, developing my website. My website's down right now, and I got to get that fixed.
It's a good project.
Yeah, it's a good project. My web developer has been, I guess, really busy, so he hasn't been answering my calls. So I got to get that figured out.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now's a good time to revisit like websites or even like your reels and stuff like that. I've been trying to like rework my 2 reels for weddings and corporate as much as I can. So yeah,
now is a really good time to sit down and restructure and reevaluate the things that you're doing. All those back burner projects you can finally get to.
Yep, for sure. And like, you're not getting paid for those back burner projects in the first place. If you can knock all of those out before like your busy season hits, like it's perfect. It's perfect timing. I mean, not for everybody, but like you can still use this time to be productive.
Absolutely.
I've never really been a fan of video marketing, or not video marketing, video chatting. I hate video marketing.
Video production is the worst. Why did I get into this? It is pretty bad, honestly. Like, I love it, but it's kind of a crazy store. What am I saying? Storm.
Yeah, it's a weird industry for sure. But I've never really been a big fan of video, like conference calls and video chats and stuff like that, just like this, essentially, until society gets shut down. I was never, I always like felt uncomfortable and whatnot, but now that this is the only like form of outside world communication, it's kind of like, this is what we've got, this is normal. And so it seems at this point that like this will be more normal after we reopen society. That, of course, I think you were saying that while this is, more people will go back to face, I think a lot of people are now more comfortable, like myself, with like this video conferencing for business, for personal use. Like, I've been FaceTiming my family every so often, trying to stay in touch. Now that I can't see them right now. It's a way different dynamic for sure.
We're trying to remotely teach my grandparents how to use video chat. It's a challenge, but hopefully we can get them all set up with that. And it's hard when you can't just be there and be like, press this, do this.
Yep. My grandparents all started Zoom, going on Zoom, which is really bizarre because they didn't even have like smartphones until a year or so ago. And now they're like using Zoom to talk to all their friends and all of their family, and it's just it's so interesting and so bizarre. But I mean, I'm sure they really appreciate the technology. I mean, this was not possible 20 years ago. All you had was a phone.
Yeah, thank goodness that we have modern technology. I mean, if we didn't have the communication devices that we do now, how much harder this isolation would be.
For sure. And I thought of something the other day where it was like, if this were to happen in 10 years, if this would have happened 10 years from now, we would have had like living rooms full of virtual reality headsets and advanced like virtual reality video games and stuff like that, where you could literally walk.
Well, there's a small segment of the population that probably is just like, I don't know what the problem is. Everything's virtual reality right now.
Yeah, but in a couple of years, like, who knows? Instead of a TV screen, you got a VR goggle and you're hanging out with your friends just in a virtual world somewhere. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, if history repeats, then the generation 100 years from now will have virtual VR whatever virus is going on then. Unless they have more advanced medical stuff by then that can fight it.
I mean, the year 2120, I think. Yeah, 100 years from now. 2120. What's going to happen in 2120?
2121. There was a show called Phil to the Future that was on Disney Channel way back when I was a kid. Yeah, and these basically it was about this family that time traveled from the year 2121. Wow. And this was before smartphones were really a thing. And they had this thing called a wizard, and it was basically a smartphone. Awesome. It allowed them to do all sorts of different things from one device. And it's like, yeah, that's we invented that maybe 5 years later.
Yeah, I wonder what smartphone technology will look like. I mean, even just like marketing technology, like, I mean, 20 years ago you were doing mailers and all of that stuff, but now you can go on Google and press, I want to search, or I want to market to this person of this demographic who has searched this keyword. That's just, it's mind-blowing. Even to me, who's like grown up with that technology, it's mind-blowing.
I know, it's like, where we're going to be 10, 20 years from now is going to be so different. And I know Gary Vee's been talking about like voice-activated technology. He sees that as being the next wave. Because now instead of searching for something, you kind of eliminate that. And all you have to do is say, hey, Google, show me where a nearby restaurant is. And I was wondering if my thing was going to activate if I said that.
Hear something, but yeah, I
hear it. Yeah, that's my Google talking back awesome. To me. But anyways, you would have to be like, but from a marketing standpoint, that's really gonna change a lot, because now so many people are like SEO and using all these keywords, and I think that will be a factor in it. But now instead of worrying about being on the first page of Google, you got to worry about being the only person, or the first three of whatever the voice-activated technology says. And then the people that do rank up there are going to get a huge spike of traffic and business, just because there's no other options for people unless they really dig into it.
I mean, if you say, hey Siri, like get me a video marketer. I mean, if you're not at the top of that page, if you're not the first thing that pops up, I think Gary Vee had the example of, like, Alexa, ask Gary Vee. Oh shoot, I just activated mine. Ask Gary. I want to ask Gary a question, and then you ask your question, and then Gary will have like this library of content that the device will just pull from and answer your question for you in his voice, and. Yeah, I think that's his like grand vision. So you can ask Gary any question you want, and he'll actually give you a real answer based on his like content library.
I mean, he's got quite a database. If you ask any of the generic questions that he gets asked a million times, he'll get an answer.
I don't know what career I want to go down. Gary, what should I do? Follow your passions.
Yeah, so that's really going to be interesting if that ends up being the next wave, and I could see it being so because it does eliminate a lot of because we're always looking for faster and easier.
For sure.
The path of least resistance, and voice technology really brings that to another level. I have invested in having a Google Home, and since doing so, it's been great because I could just sit down on my couch and tell Netflix to play something, tell the light to shut off, and cool. And it's a lot faster because I used to play it on my Xbox, and I had to turn on my Xbox, navigate to the app, load it. Now I can just say what I want to watch, and within 5 seconds, it's playing on my TV. It's wonderful for my lazy body.
It's awesome. Yeah, we've got, in our apartment here, we've got all of our lights are on smart plugs or smart bulbs. So you get home in the middle of the night, you just say, I don't want to say it, ALXCA or whatever you spell it, turn on all my lights, and poof, everything just turns on. Or you're in bed, you forgot to turn off the one light, just tell it to turn off the light. It's amazing.
It's so
amazing.
Cool. Confession time. The real reason I didn't prepare questions for this is because I got distracted by trying to set up a smart plug that isn't working because it needs 2.5 gigahertz internet, and I have 5 gigahertz internet, and trying to figure out how to downgrade it to 2.5 and just getting the app to even find it. It's been just a mess. I really want to set up a routine where I can just have all the lights back there just turn on and off and stuff, and so that's why I came ill prepared to this.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Maybe we could branch out from live streaming. What else you got going on?
Right now, I'm working on one of the projects I'm doing right now. I'm editing for a YouTube show that I also produce. That's me personally, not with Mid-July Media, my company. It's called Seared. We go around to different cities, different regions, and interview people over a cool dinner or meal or drinks or something like that, and get to know them and what they do. We recently went to the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, and we interviewed a dog musher who just got done racing in the Alaskan Iditarod. And so we interviewed her right before she flew out there, or drove out there, I guess. And so I'm editing those episodes right now. We did one in Pittsburgh back in October, and so along with my downtime, I've been editing a lot of that YouTube show as well. I'm also working on a bunch of other YouTube projects. I'm working on a news channel. I'm working on some, I'm also an electric car enthusiast, so I've been working on some of that content as well. A lot of those just kind of passing the time projects for the most part.
You're going to use that surplus money, or what do they call it?
The government stimulus or whatever it is.
Yeah, the stimulus package. You're going to use that for your investment of your new, was the electric, or
the Cybertruck.
What's that new truck? Yeah, the Cybertruck.
Tesla Cybertruck, yeah. I mean, if I can, that'd be great. I mean, we're still a year and a half out from when I would get the truck delivered, at least. So, yeah, I'm trying to build up that savings.
What what made you like the Cybertruck? Because it's a very unique design.
Yeah, yep. Man, I love talking about the Cybertruck. I love it so much. I want to make more YouTube videos about it, but the Cybertruck is not only an electric car made by Tesla of all car makers, and there's several things there itself that are really interesting. I mean, Tesla as a company and what they're capable of, but the truck is made out of this material. It's an exoskeleton instead of a frame. I've got a sticker around here somewhere that I actually made, a vinyl sticker, but that says exoskeleton is greater than frame. Because a traditional car is built from the inside out. There's that steel frame in the middle, and then the door panels are put on it, and the windshield and all that stuff. The Cybertruck is made from the outside in, so its structure is on the outside. If it gets hit, if it gets damaged, it almost takes no damage, basically. It's extra strong, extra sturdy, and the material it's made out of is rust-proof. So here in Michigan, it's fantastic because it won't rust after 10 years. The salt doesn't touch it on the roads.
Well, I remember when the older cars were built more tank-like, but the problem with that is when they did get hit, instead of your crumple your head and like body are taking the brunt of that inertia, which is why they made cars more fragile.
Right.
Wouldn't that problem translate with a Cybertruck?
So this is a really interesting question and issue that we don't really know a whole lot on. Basically, Tesla has just said that they've built the frame in a way where it redirects impact forces. So kind of like a crumple zone, but I think what it's supposed to do is redirect it into the top structure of the car where it's thinner, and also to the actual windows. Because as you remember from the launch, the windows are this extra thick, unbreakable glass.
They broke a little
bit. Both of them.
And he did not look happy. It's like, I'm trying to hold it together. It's like,
yep. They threw the ball at both windows, and they both broke. But anyways, the windows are extra strong, and so I think those are supposed to be kind of this crumple zone-like area that's not supposed to shatter or anything like that in the event of a crash. But the running joke is that if you get into a crash, you're going to be fine. The other car, though, might be absolutely obliterated. But Cybertruck is going to walk away from any crash with not even a dent.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate to be on the receiving end of a crash with that thing.
For sure.
Since this is a digital marketing podcast, why don't we shift gears and talk about why you believe the marketing of a Cybertruck was successful or not successful? Ooh. How did they, bring something so different into a marketplace and get people on board with it?
Right. So I think a lot of it comes down to when a product captures somebody's attention, people talk about it. And the Cybertruck, the release was two-pronged. First, it was this like crazy new product that nobody had even thought of. People had been creating renders and speculating for months ahead of the launch, or of the release, or the announcement, I should say, and nobody saw this coming. So when Tesla released this thing, this crazy new design concept, whatever you might call it, people were talking about it, and that was wildly successful. The second part is what we just talked about, the windows breaking. And even to some extent, even like bad PR is good PR. Their windows breaking made national headlines and international headlines around the world of Tesla's brand new, like crazy concept of a truck, and it didn't even work on stage. That got him so much attention worldwide. And so just from those two things, their marketing just at the announcement, I can't get the terminology straight, was so wildly successful.
And how do you think you could take those principles into your own business when it comes to marketing your services?
Get a product that people talk about. I mean, right now, like live streaming, for example, I started live streaming, and because people are talking about it and people are looking to these extra or these additional services to go virtual, go online, and put a classroom or a dance class or a wedding online. That's just one example of a product that people talk about and will go chase, basically.
Okay, so because it's the very current thing that everyone's talking about, and you're just sliding in there and being like, service.
You're kind of appealing to current trends per se, but there's also the other part of it where I lost my train of thought there. There's a whole other section there I was going to say, but it's making a product, back to what I said originally, that people talk about, and people are talking about live streaming and video chatting and everything right now. So
now, what about social distancing? Has that been a challenge for live streaming, since you physically do have to be present still to render that service? How's that been?
It's been tough, for sure. I don't think social distancing has been really a benefit for most people. It's really interrupted a lot of people's lives.
Absolutely.
When I do a live stream for this dance buyer specifically, I mean, we're in the studio. We're at the host's apartment, away from other people. It's just me and him in this room. He's across the room, basically, in front of the camera doing his own thing, and then I'm on the other side of the room doing my thing. We don't really interact a whole lot otherwise. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure. It is kind of a concern, I guess, just physically being there puts myself and even him at risk. But at the end of the day, like it is part of the whole risk of doing business in general. So just kind of getting on.
As long as you practice social distance and you keep that, because you're a cameraman, you don't have to interact physically. You can be a safe distance from them.
Right.
But we are just about out of time here.
Perfect.
So thank you so much for coming on the show, Troy. And this has been the Digital Fluid Marketing Podcast. If you are interested in a live stream, where can they go find you? midjulymedia.com, or you can email me at hello@midjulymedia.com. No dashes in there, just all one word. Great. So anyone looking for a live streaming service here in Grand Rapids can go hit up Troy at Mid-July Media. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Fluid, the Digital Marketing Podcast.